I just wanted to go over a few things just to make sure everybody's on the same page. We're coming down to the last few weeks, and we got a bit of an unusual writing assignment for the last one, the art one. And I've already had a few questions about the journal, which I've gone over before in some of the other videos. So I want to cover some of that and about the textbook, so everybody understands what we're doing here. Now, first and foremost, on the journal, just keep in mind what that is. It's a collection of all the discussion writings you've done. So what you do is you go to the discussion area, get all the discussions you've done throughout, from Antigone, to the Showa ones, to the civil rights ones, and these art ones also, all these art ones. And put them all together in a single Word file. Okay, and I would urge you to do this, very soon, and you'll get an idea of how many pages you have, and you'll want to have about 20 pages by the end of the semester. And double space it. Do remember that it does not need to be cleanly written or anything like that, but it does need to be your original writing on these topics that you put together. Okay, so that's what you're looking for. You want to put it all together, and I want to, a couple mistakes people do make is your essays don't go as part of your journal, so don't put your essays in there. It really should just be the materials that you did in response to these. If you put your journal together and you find out, hey, I'm coming up short on pages, go ahead and develop them. And you can develop it in your journal, or you can go back to these discussions and add a little bit more to them if you wanted to. So you can add a little bit more to them. We have a little over 2 weeks left. So you can get that up to snuff if you're, a little bit under 20 or something like that. And again, remember, just go back to the materials, write the best you can about it. Just give me something thoughtful and considerate that you're sure you've done the reading, and you should be in good shape with that. Very important you get the journal together. That is worth 100 points by the end of the semester. So make sure you have that going by the end of the semester. Okay. On the textbook, what everybody's going to be doing is either dropping it off at my office, and I'll have a box out during the final week, and you can drop it up there, drop it off there. And I'll either be in my office and you can give it to me personally, or I'll be, checking by my office throughout the final week. I will be in here. If I'm not in class, I will be here. Don't worry about, a book getting taken or anything like that. That's never a problem. It's not like somebody's going to steal it and sell it on eBay. I am checking on that box, every hour and getting it, and so it's never a problem. Or you can mail it to me. If you're away from the high desert area and you can't get to the campus, you can mail it to me. Just mail it to the campus address, Victor Valley College at 18422 Bear Valley Road in Victorville. I forget the zip code. I think it's 929 something. But you can look it up. Send it to the college and just put my name on it. Just put Joseph Pendleton on it. If you put English department, that'll help. So you can mail it to me in the last week or drop it off in the last week. And all I want to see is that you've completed up to chapter 4. You do not need to complete chapter 5. Just complete chapter 4. Good faith effort throughout. That's what I'm looking for. That's going to get you the 100 points if you've got it, good and complete. Okay, and I'll be posting the final grammar quiz in the last week. It'll just be on chapter 4. It's going to be on parallels and dependent clauses, which is what chapter 4 go over. Okay, so look for that. That's the 2 assignments that are coming up. Is the journal, which you've got to hand in and send in, and you just put it together as a Word file and send it in, through the course messaging. Send it to me, and that'll be fine. And then with the grammar book, just submit it. Either drop it off at my office or mail it in if you're living away from campus. It is generally a little bit easier to drop it off, and then you've gotten it there. Okay. Another thing, do make certain, absolutely certain, you put your name in your grammar book. Make certain that you do that. Okay. So a couple last things here. We have the second description painting is going to be due. Oh wait, pardon me, I've got that wrong. The library tutorial is due by tomorrow. Okay. a library tutorial, and a number of folks have completed it, and I've gotten them sent in. Make sure you've gotten it done and you've gotten a score, and make sure you do have it sent to me, the joseph.pendleton@vvc.edu, joseph.pendleton@vvc.edu. Okay, and that will send it to me, and it'll send me the score, and I'll be able to enter it, and I'll be entering them pretty soon. So make sure you have it done by tomorrow night. For most folks, it's not the toughest assignment to complete. They get it done. They usually do quite well, 80% or above, many coming in above 90. If you just go through it carefully, you should be fine. So make sure that's done by tomorrow night. It's got to be done by, the end of the day, by tomorrow night. And then another painting description is due tomorrow. That's the Moses leaving Egypt. I'm going to show you a little bit on how to write an essay on that one. And I want to get you started on that. So that's just keeping you up to snuff on it. And that's going to be the Grammar 4 quiz is going to be, due in the last week. And that's just going to be, I want to be clear, it's just going to be on dependent clauses and parallels. Chapter 3 quiz is the toughest, and that one should have been done yesterday. Chapter 3 quiz is the toughest. If you got through Chapter 3 quiz, you'll be fine with Chapter 4 generally. Okay, so that's all we have coming up. And then the final essay is going to be due on the 8th. Okay. And anything else, the journal is going to be due on the day after, okay, on the 9th. Okay, let me go through a little bit and get you started on the essay, so you know what's going on with the essay and how to get going. Now, this one is a little bit odd, and let me go to the assignments here, if I can see. And here it is. Here's the aesthetics and art, and we're writing an interpretation using at least one outside source. And we're interpreting a work of art by an artist somehow covered in Vasari. Okay, this one is going a little bit slow. Let's see if I can get it going. Okay, there it is. Aesthetics and art. Okay, it was there. So you're going to be looking for a work of art covered, created by an artist covered by Vasari. So you should be going to the Vasari, and I did cover this a little bit before. You're going to be writing a 6-paragraph essay that analyzes a single artwork or artifact by an artist covered in Vasari's Lives of the Artist. Okay, so that's our springboard. That's what we're going to be using. So you go through Vasari. You don't have to read the whole thing. Okay, and the Vasari is available at the readings. You just go to that, and again, you do not need to read the whole thing. You don't need to do that. Okay, just find an artist that you find interesting, and find an artwork by him or her, or I guess they're all hymns. Find an artwork by him online, and then start writing about it. And that's all you got to do. Okay, now once you find an artwork that you're interested in, and again, you can do pretty much anything. And this one, it always takes forever to download, so I won't be going through all of it. And it is quite long. But find something and use it. Just when you're setting it up, find something that you think is interesting. If it's either religious artwork or non-religious artwork, that's great. I want to re-emphasize, you do not need to be going into any personal views on religion. I should have no idea what your religious views are in reading the essay. So in doing this essay, you will often see religious artworks, and a lot of these artists in the medieval and Renaissance times are dealing with religious aspects because the church was sponsoring a lot of the artwork. So that's why it was going on. But you don't need to. Okay, it's up to you entirely. If you write on something that's non-religious, it becomes a non-issue. But if you write on something that is religious, just be aware you shouldn't be going into your own personal convictions regarding religion. You are really giving an insight into the aesthetics of the artwork. Are there going to be religious themes? Of course there are, and yes, you absolutely need to discuss them, but you don't need to go into your own personal convictions. Okay, so I hope that's clear with everybody. It's just not a part of the essay at all. So we're just really going after an artistic interpretation of a work of art. And you can go through any of the artists. And I started on one, and I'll guide you through one that I've written before. And I'm going to try to do it in a different way this time. But I want to show you how I go through it. and how you can go through it. So you're going to be developing an aesthetic interpretation on one of the Vasari's artists, and focus on an aspect of the work in each body paragraph. So we're going to be chopping up the artwork and going through it piece by piece. That's what you're doing. And really think back to when you were writing the essays on Washington or Du Bois, or writing on Washington Du Bois, or writing on the Shoah. You were just pulling pieces out of the narratives and writing on those and focusing on those. We're doing that again, but now we're doing it with an image. Okay, we're doing it with an image. And so we're going to approach it differently. And we're going to, it would be good, it's good if you're a little more capable with how to chop pieces up. And I know many of you are far more capable than I am. Don't worry if you're not good with it. That's all right. This is what I did. And this is so far working on one, Moses leaving Egypt. And that's going to be the artwork that's going to be due next week. And what I've done with that one, and let me show you the whole piece. I can go ahead and show you the whole piece here. Is I found that one before just unusual, just because, and some of you have already written, that's good. I've already gotten a few folks writing on it. Moses leaving Egypt, I found that one really unusual, just because he was such an odd artist. This is a clearly religious painting covering something from the Old Testament, but he wasn't very religious. And why were they, having him paint this if he wasn't very religious in the first place? He just has a real magical touch about it. And I looked at this painting and I go, this one seems to have balance and beauty to it. And what I did is I chopped the painting up into these sections. And kind of divided it up. And I did not, when I started writing, I want to be clear about something. I did not know much about the narrative that was going on in this work of art or any of the background. And I want to be clear, that's not really important. I just want to show you how I got started. And I want to start with the Moses leaving Egypt painting and show you how you can get started with it. I divided it up into a section down here, section back here, and a section here, and kind of what's going on here. And so I started to chop it up, and now I've only just gotten it going here. This is fine, it's moving in the right direction, but you're going to see I'm wrong about a lot of things. I've since learned a lot more about it, but in the early draft stage, I want to be very clear. Just start writing about the composition of the painting. Even if you don't know all of the background of the painting, don't worry about it. Really, I want to emphasize that you're going to be doing your interpretation of it and your reaction to it, but it's going to be based, much like our previous essays, in a close, careful reading. And in this one, it's a visual reading that you're going to be doing with the artwork. And I chopped this one piece out, and I just started to discuss what was going on. And now the work is fighting me. I just wanted to discuss what's going on in that one section of the painting. This is in the lower right-hand side, down here. And I'm going to show you in the later next video how I really revamped this. And I started writing about it, and again, I don't know who's exactly in this painting here. The men are calm, but seem to be waiting. The angel is primarily white, which matches the color of the infant child. Notice that's going on, that kind of balance there. And I think this painting is overall beautiful. Okay, that's what I think. The women are both closely attending the child, while the men are calm and disinterested in the work. And the men seem to be provide something of a screen. Notice all I'm doing is I'm describing what's going on here. I don't know everybody here. I don't know all these figures yet. Okay. And I talked about the man standing next to the angels holding a scepter. And things like that. I didn't know who this was at this time. I do now, but I didn't then. But the very important thing is I got this going in the early draft stages by just going through the composition of the artwork and noticing that there's kind of an art going on here, and there's this very private event going on over here with the women and the child and what's going on. And I would find out this is the beginning of circumcision in the Bible. And that's what's going on here. They're not just attending to a womb, they're circumcising the child. And that's the beginning of this going on, of that ritual. And so, but again, I didn't know that at the time when I first started writing this. I would find that out later on. Doesn't matter that I didn't know it. I wanted to show everybody that I started to write even though I didn't know a lot of things. And I would find this out, and I'd come back to this, and I would revise it. But notice, now I go off to the left-hand side, and I'm going to rearrange my approach to this whole painting. This is Moses leaving and coming out of Egypt and starting to travel around with his group. And these are his children, not angels. These are his children. And notice the way he doesn't really know what's going on, but he does seem to know what's going on. And the way she is looking knowingly at the child. All that's going to come back. But all I did, first of all, is just describe what's going on. Now, I was wrong in my early draft. These are not angels here. I thought they were. They're not. Doesn't matter. Doesn't really, it's not going to change much. I'm going to correct that in other things, but then I'm going to start writing on this and chopping up this and revising it. But I want you to do right now is get your painting, whatever painting you want to do, and start chopping it up. Now, what I did was to actually copy and paste sections of it using, the paint, program. And so I chopped pieces out and pasted them. These are essentially operating as my quotations. That's what they're operating as, and I'm working on them one by one. And I'm going to shrink this down and make it a little more manageable and go through that. But you can, if you're not very capable with paint and chopping and pasting things out, you can just put the painting as a whole at the end. You can do that and just say in the lower left-hand corner and describe it. You can do that. But it's good to, take pieces and put them there. And those are going to operate as your evidence. So that's what you should be doing for 4 body paragraphs right now. Get going on it and get writing on it. And that's what you should be doing. Don't worry if you don't know everything about your painting yet. Okay? Don't worry about that. And don't rely heavily on things like, Wikipedia and other things. In the early draft stages, just get going on your painting and just breaking it down. In the middle draft stages, you can start relying on those outside sources. Start doing the research. But in the early draft stage, I really want you to rely most heavily on your own mind and your own ability to break things down. Okay? That's what I want you to do. And that's what I've done here. I wanted people to see me making a lot of mistakes, and that's what I'm doing. And now I realized this in the second time around, that I had a lot of mistakes. That's part of the process. I've gained my impression of this painting by walking through it more carefully. I can revise that and make these changes. I was talking about angels here. They're not angels. These are the children of Moses. And so I'm going to revise that in the second and middle draft stages when I find these things out. And that's going to evolve and change as I go through it. Okay? So that's what you should be working on. You should have gotten your quiz done yesterday. You should be working through it. And everybody should just keep an eye on take a look at your journal, and keep going at that. I'm trying to make sure everybody gets the journal in good shape and the grammar book in good shape. Now, I am working on grading your essays. I will not be doing final evaluations on those, however. Those take too much time, and it's very tough to do it at the end of the semester. So I should have your grades posted hopefully by Monday on the third essay. So I should have that by that time, okay? But keep going at it, folks. You're coming up on the final couple of weeks, and we're going to wrap things up, and I'm sure you're going to do all right, okay? But just make sure you get those grammar books completed and that journal completed, and you should be all right. Take care.